Hello and welcome to our Getting Started webinar. In our webinars, we will be focusing on specific aspects of TaxDome and show you how everything works. In this webinar, we'll go over the important things you need to know in order to start using TaxDome efficiently. Before we get started, I want to invite everyone to watch further videos like this one that cover more features in detail and guide you through the TaxDome implementation process. You can find those in the education section of our website. Also, once you start testing out TaxDome, you will be able to access the TaxDome Academy, which includes interactive courses about several aspects of TaxDome. The same courses will of course be available to your team members as well. Now, let's go over the main topics that we'll cover in this webinar. The basics of the platform, the essentials of our CRM system and its functions, getting your client data into TaxDome, interacting with your clients either one-on-one or in bulk, and a small overview, including information about how to stay up to date with everything going on in your firm. So let's get started. The first thing that you will see when you log in is our Insights page. It shows you everything you might want to pay attention to, like your pending work, which in TaxDome we call jobs, and all the pending things on your to-do list, which we call tasks. This page also shows you all pending items, like organizers, contracts, pending signatures, and more. And additionally, this page is also directly connected to the workflow and calendar pages, which we cover more in another webinar. From Insights, I'll go to the Clients page, which I can access here in the left sidebar menu. In this page, you'll be able to see all your clients once you create their accounts or import them. In my case, I already have some clients imported here, but I will explain to you in a little bit what the best practices for bringing your clients into TaxDome are. First, let me clarify what accounts are and what contacts are. Accounts can either be a business or an individual. They are the entities you work for and bill. Contacts, on the other hand, are the individual people who will be linked to these accounts. As an example, you can have one account for a whole family, but then you will have multiple contacts for the family members, which will then be linked to that family account. If I open one of the accounts from my list here, you'll see an overview page that shows everything that's happening with this specific account. You can either click on the View All button on any of these sections, or you can navigate via the bar at the top of your screen. If you open any of these tabs, you'll see everything the client has in that tab, whether that be documents, messages, organizers, or anything else. While I'm still in the same client account, let's switch to the Info tab. Here I can see all the account details and the contacts that are linked to it. Now, you may have noticed that the contacts have a set of toggles next to their email addresses, so you might be wondering what those are for. Those toggles determine who can access the account and more. You can customize them for each contact individually, of course. The Login toggle allows the contacts to access the client portal and all the account's information. You will always want to have this enabled for all the contacts that might need to sign documents or generally interact with you in the future. The Notify toggle becomes selectable after enabling the Login toggle. It allows the contact to receive email notifications and emails sent through TaxDome. Lastly, the Email Sync toggle will allow you to pull in your previous email conversations that your firm had with the clients. Just keep in mind that for this to work, you and your team members also need to enable Email Sync for yourself in your settings page. It's a simple process which requires you to enter an email address and then give it some permission in order for you to be able to send emails directly through TaxDome and also to view past conversations. Let's go back to the Accounts Info tab again. So, if you have contacts linked to an account that do not need access or maybe shouldn't receive any notifications, remember that you can adjust these toggles for them at any time. Now that we know what these toggles are for, you may wonder why not all the contacts have this set of toggles. For the toggles to be selectable, the contact needs to have an email address listed under their information. While we're still talking about contacts, I'll click on the name of one of them. This will open a new menu where I can view and edit all their contact information, including their email address. Also, at the bottom of this menu, I can see all the accounts that this contact is linked to. Accounts can have multiple contacts linked to them, but contacts can also be linked to multiple accounts. This means that if you have a client that owns multiple businesses, you can link that client's contact to all the accounts you create for the different businesses. To clarify further, if one of these contacts here is linked to another account, the remaining contacts linked to this one will not have access to the other account's information unless you were to link them there as well. Just as a reminder, if you need to see other information besides the accounts or contacts details, you can use this bar at the top of the page to navigate to any of these other sections. Also, you can have this additional tab where you can make internal notes about this client, and you can mention any team members to notify them in case you want them to see the note as soon as possible. Make sure to visit all these tabs and familiarize yourself with them. Switching gears a bit, let's talk about our recommended steps you should take before getting all your clients into TaxDome. Before you import your clients, you will likely want to do some prep work beforehand. I would recommend creating folder templates and tags, since that can save you time later on. With folder templates, you can prepare an entire folder structure which you can then apply to your clients, either one by one or in bulk at any point. They can also be applied during the import process, so it's best to have it ready before you start importing your clients. To make them, you would need to go to your Settings, then the Templates tab, and then the Folder subtab. We have a default one that is available as soon as you start using TaxDome, but you can edit it or you can make a completely new one. If you are used to some specific folder structure that you have been using in the past, you can recreate it here as a folder template. We have available resources on how to create folder templates that go into detail about the process, so we won't spend too much time on that now. But the important thing to know about them is that you can set every top-level folder to one of 3 privacy settings. Client can view and edit, which means that the client can access all the contents within this folder type and also edit them. Client can view, which only allows the client to view and download the files and folders. And private, which, as the name would imply, is not visible to the client whatsoever, but instead it is just for you and your team. So when you set up the folder templates, pay attention to the types of folders you create. The other thing I mentioned that you should create before importing your clients are the tags. You can make those in the Tags tab in your Settings page. You can create as many as you want for all the different types and groups of clients that you'll be importing. These will help you easily filter information in the future and also raise the level of automation you can utilize, but we'll talk about that more in a different webinar. Once you set up both folder templates and tags, you can start focusing on getting your clients into TaxDome, which is exactly what we'll be talking about now. There are 2 ways of adding clients into TaxDome. This can be done either manually from the plus new menu by selecting Account, or you can do it in bulk from the Clients page by using the Import button, which we definitely recommend if you have more than a handful of clients. To do an import, you'll need to have all your client information in a CSV file, which is a type of spreadsheet. As a quick note, you can easily save your Excel sheets as CSVs. If you haven't exported your clients list from your current software yet, feel free to check out our Help Center, which has guides on how to do that in a lot of popular programs. Before you proceed with importing the spreadsheet, it is likely going to be necessary to do some formatting to the spreadsheet to ensure that all your client information is imported correctly. As we mentioned earlier, in TaxDome you have both accounts and contacts. So in order for your import to create both and link them automatically, you will need to have an account name column as well as a contact name column. You can model yours after the one that you're seeing here on the screen right now, or alternatively, you can download a sample spreadsheet from the import menu by using this button right here. We also have help articles and video guides available on this matter, such as this import help article, so please take a look to learn exactly how to format your spreadsheet. If you get stuck at any point, just reach out to our support team and they'll gladly help you out. The basics of what you will be doing is making sure that you have both account name and contact name columns, as well as an email address column. The email address is necessary to be able to properly interact with your clients in TaxDome and for them to be able to access the client portal. But even without it, you can still use TaxDome to store their documents and track the work you will be doing for them. Your spreadsheet can have as many columns as you need since TaxDome supports custom fields, so you can include any data that may be important for your firm. Keep in mind that you might just want to differentiate between which information is relevant to the whole account and which is just related to the contacts, since you'll map that information separately later. You also don't have to name your columns exactly like how you'll have them in TaxDome, since you'll be able to choose exactly which column will be used for what information field. I mentioned earlier that your accounts and contacts can be linked automatically during the import, but let me show you how to set that up. For accounts that will only have one linked contact, meaning one person, you just need to make sure that their account name and contact name are in the same row. When you have a business or family account like the one I've shown you earlier, you will want to use the same account name in multiple rows. But then you will want to have all the contact information be different for the different contacts. That way, one account and multiple contacts will be created during the import, and they will of course be linked automatically. You will do the opposite when you have a contact that will be linked to multiple accounts. You will copy the contact information into multiple rows, but change the account name and details for each row. This is the optimal way to have your spreadsheet set up. But some software may export it with all the contact details listed in the same row, like in this example right here. You can see the primary taxpayer information here, and then the spouse information further right in a separate column. You could try to separate it into multiple rows like you've seen earlier, but alternatively, there's a method you can use to save yourself some time. The main difference will be that instead of importing the sheet once, you would have to do it multiple times, meaning once for every contact in the same row. You would just choose which information is relevant to said contact. We won't go too deep into this in this webinar, but we have a help article that covers this exact scenario in detail, so please take a look if your situation is similar to this. After you're done formatting the spreadsheet, you can either start importing the clients or you can reach out to our team and ask us to do it for you. Our team is always happy to lend you a hand whenever you need it. But if you decide to do it yourself, you'll see that the process is quite easy. Once again, in the Clients page, click on the Import button to start the process. Then you'll be prompted to upload your CSV file in this menu. After doing so, the first step is to map the account information. The main priority here is to include the account name, but you can also map any of the other columns from your spreadsheet that relate to the whole account rather than the individual contacts. This is what I talked about earlier when I mentioned that you can have separate fields for either account or contact information. To map a column from your spreadsheet, click here and then choose Map to Property. Then you will get to pick what the information will be used for, and that's it. You basically get to match the information from your spreadsheet to the information fields in TaxDome. If you don't have a corresponding field here, then you can make a new one right here by using the New Field option. You can also do this in the Custom Fields tab in your Settings page. Once you map all the account information, you can go to the next step. The first thing you get to do here is set the toggles you saw earlier for everyone you're about to import. I recommend enabling all 3 of them. You can then also choose whether you want to invite all your clients to the portal by ticking this box. If you would rather invite them at a later point, you can leave it unticked. As long as the login toggle is enabled here, you will be able to invite everyone in bulk at a later point. You can then set up which tags will be applied to everyone you're about to import. If you have your clients split into separate sheets for different groups or for the different services that you provide, you can easily tag them like this. You can also set who from your team will be assigned to the imported clients. And lastly, You can also choose which folder template will be applied to everyone. All three of these things can also be done in bulk at a later point as well, so don't worry about missing out if you choose not to do something like tag this batch of clients right now. The next step is to map the contact information the same way you did for the account information, except that now it's related to the individuals. Once you're done, you can go to the final step, which is the final review. It will recap how you set things up, and then you can confirm if you're ready to import. If you are, then just start the import and wait for it to finish. After a few moments, you will have your clients list set up in TaxDome, but in case there were any issues with the import, you'll be notified so that you can check what caused the problem. Now that I have my clients imported, I can open my clients list and interact with them, either one by one or in bulk. If you're just looking for certain clients, you can use the search bar or our filtering tools via this button right here. You can then select your filters like by tag, the import date, their activity status, and more to help you find everyone you're looking for. Besides this, you can also see some more information about the accounts in these columns here in the accounts list. It gives you an easy overview of what's pending for the account. If you open someone's account, you will get to the same page I showed you at the start of this webinar. Everyone's account will be structured the same way, so whenever you need to see something regarding a specific client, open their account and navigate to the appropriate tab. If you need to create something on the spot for one of your clients, like a secure message or even an internal task, you can always use the plus new menu, since that's your shortcut to do anything as quickly as possible. Generally, unless you disable the notify toggle for a client, they'll receive email notifications about anything you send or create for them. The only things that they don't get notifications about are jobs, tasks, and notes, because those are internal. Now that we know that you can create so many things for your clients, let's take a look at how you can interact with multiple clients at once. If I go back to my clients page, I will see boxes on the left of the accounts. If I tick some, a new menu bar will appear above the list. By using any of these options up here, I can do things for all the selected clients. As an example, if I wanted to send out an email to all of my tax return clients, I could filter my accounts list to see all the accounts with the tax return tag, select everyone by ticking the box at the top of the list, and then click on the Send Email button. I could then compose an email or use a template. The email would be sent to everyone I selected. It works the same way with all the other buttons you saw there for the different elements and functions. So you could send organizers, apply or remove tags, reassign clients, or do more in bulk. Just keep in mind that if you need your clients to complete any elements like organizers or client tasks, they will need to have access to the portal. I mentioned earlier that you can invite clients to the portal at a later point if you didn't do so while creating their accounts or during the import. You can do that from this new tab that appeared in your clients page, called Pending Activations. There, all the clients with their login toggles enabled who have not activated their accounts yet will be listed. You can then select specific ones or everyone, and then invite them with this button right here. The clients will receive an activation email, and they'll just have to set up a password in order to start using the client portal. Let's wrap up this webinar with a quick lap through the different pages we haven't been to yet and briefly explain what they're for. When it comes to how you'll know when clients reach out to you or complete something that you've been waiting for them to do, your Inbox Plus will be your best friend. It's your notification center, which will show you all notifications about accounts you're following. So if someone were to sign a contract you sent, or upload some new documents, or anything else, you would always know about it right away. If you need to see specific notifications, either for certain accounts or specific types of notifications, then you can filter this list as well. Besides the Inbox Plus, you will also receive notifications about the same things via email. If you prefer one or the other, you can customize your notification preferences in your settings page. Here, you'll be able to pick and choose where you want to be notified about what, so you'll have full control over this. Next, You have the calendar page, which shows you all your internal tasks and jobs. It might be empty for you initially, but once you set up your portal fully and start working for your clients, you'll notice this page getting more populated. While we're at doing work, the workflow page is where you'll keep track of it all. You'll have different tabs and views to keep track of everything here. But this is something that you can check our workflow-centered webinar out for, which we definitely recommend after you import your clients. Next up, the Documents page will let you view all your clients' documents and folders, but without having to open each account separately. You still have access to the same functions as from within the Docs tab in an account, so which one you want to use comes down to personal preference. The Wiki page is where you can find all internal documents that you created. These will be accessible to your team and can also be shared with clients if necessary. The Invoices page, as the name suggests, is where you will see all information regarding your invoicing, meaning the actual invoices, payments, and your time entries. And lastly, the Settings page is where you will control and manage all your firm's details and of course create the different templates and pipelines you'll be regularly using. As a recommendation for helping you familiarize yourself further with TaxDome, create a test client with a personal email address that you have access to, and then test things out from both the firm and client side. That will ensure that everything you may set up in the future is as convenient as possible. So with this, we'll be wrapping up this webinar. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this, and I hope you managed to learn more about how easy it is to take your first steps with TaxDome. There are multiple other webinars available that cover things like the workflow automations, communicating with clients, team management, and much more, so please feel free to check them out to continue with your setup. Additionally, we have courses available in our TaxDome Academy that cover everything we talked about here and much more. If you have any questions either now or in the future, please just reach out to our team and they'll be happy to answer them for you. Thank you once again for joining me for this webinar, and I hope you have a wonderful day.